Every sector is racing towards AI, but few have as much in stake as healthcare. The decisions that are being made are literally life and death. So today we're going to dive into the topic of what's real, what's hype, what still needs work in the sector of AI in healthcare. And we are going to look at from burnouts all the way to breakthroughs in the healthcare industry. Welcome to episode 4 of the AI Verity Show, brought to you by Veritis. Let's get started. Hi everyone, my name is Fanny Dunagan. Welcome to the AI Verity Show. And before we begin, I wanted to run through real quick how this show is formatted. We're going to kick off with some research that we have done and highlight some things in the news around AI in healthcare. And then we're going to jump to some practical steps that you can start to implement to get ready for the AI revolution. And then finally, we wrap up in our third section and give you very specific AI case studies in healthcare that you can start to explore in your own businesses. But before we begin, I want to introduce to you our very special guest today. Over here, we have Nayan Patel. He is the SVP and GM of Transformation and Digital Health at Neteera. Welcome, Nayan.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here.
Yes. Please give our audience a little overview of your career.
Sure. My history is really broken out into 3 chapters. And the first is work experience, right? So I had 10 years in semiconductors, and then the last 20 have been in healthcare IT. I work for large healthcare systems like here in Dallas, Baylor Scott & White, as well as a medium-sized hospital and then a single hospital in rural central Georgia. So that's the first stage. The second stage is now where I'm at, where I've moved from the operational side into a solutions provider side. And I am, as you mentioned, I run the hospital business for Neteera, and we make a radar-based, contactless patient monitoring system. It's pretty cool technology, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. And the third area now, my chapter of life, is I'm a speaker, and I try to, get out and do some thought leadership, and I started a newsletter that is about technology, leadership, and life.
Exciting. Over here, obviously, we have the CEO and founder of Veritis. Vic, for those that don't know you, please give an overview of your career.
Hi, I'm Vic Peram. I am the CEO and founder of Veritis. We are a tech consulting company based of Dallas. We have been in business for 20 years. We specialize in serving our clients from mid-market to Fortune 500. We serve them in the horizontals of artificial intelligence, data, infrastructure, and security. So that's a quick wrap up about me. I will let Fanny start the series.
Thank you. So what we do before we kick off each episode is we actually go out and research the latest AI news. So in this case, we found this unique AI use case around healthcare, especially in hospitals, and what they're doing to address burnout in doctors. Let's roll that now.
Hey, how are you?
Inside this hospital in Boston, a quiet revolution is underway. It's not a new drug or a breakthrough procedure. It's artificial intelligence, used to fight doctor burnout.
Many clinicians feel completely overwhelmed.
Nearly half of all physicians are reporting at least one symptom of burnout. And a 2023 survey found that 2 out of 5 doctors say they would consider leaving within the next 2 years.
Is it okay if I use the iPad to listen to our visit and help me write my note today? Yeah. All right.
Dr. Rebecca Mishuris is the Chief Medical Information Officer and Primary Care Doctor at Mass General Brigham, and an early adopter of a new artificial intelligence tool designed not to replace doctors, but to help them stay in the job.
In medicine, there's a phrase, pajama time, right? Time we spend outside of the clinic at our home, doing things like charts and notes. How much has that changed as a result of this product?
So for me personally, I have no more pajama time.
None?
None. My notes are done when I walk out of clinic at this point.
The technology is called ambient documentation. It listens during the visit, transcribes a conversation, and drafts a summary note.
How can technology actually work to fight burnout?
And the magic of this is that it happens in almost real time. It's recorded, and literally within 20 or 30 seconds, the draft note appears for the clinician.
Until now, right, really hasn't been a clear intervention that can dramatically reduce burnout.
And now these AI scribes are becoming more common across the nation, from doctors in California to Georgia to here in Boston, all saving countless hours for doctors at the brink. And they're seeing staggering results. In new data just published today, the AI scribes were linked with a 21% reduction in burnout at Mass General Brigham.
Nayan, when you see that, especially that statistic, right? Nearly 21, well, slightly over 21% reduction in burnout, right? Does that number surprise you, or is that in line with what you're seeing in this kind of ambient AI documentation?
It's actually going to be higher now. I mean, I think this was, a little over a year ago, and we're definitely seeing the adoption is significant. I think over 65% of Epic deployments are already using ambient AI. 30% nationwide. I think it's all over the place now. So there are various ambient AI solutions out there, and it really just, as he indicated, it reduces pajama time, right? So, and giving that focus to the patient now is also there. So the stress, that what we measure is cognitive thinking. The physicians themselves are not having to think as hard, like, what did I say? What did I remember? Or what did, what needs to go into that documentation? So mentally, it's great for physicians.
And even as a patient, right? I appreciate the doctor listening to me versus just taking notes or staring at the computer screen too.
The user experience is very different. And a lot of it has to do with the technology that has to be able to be integrated into the existing systems, that not only the EMR, but where the data flows from. So that's where players like Veritas come into play.
So Vic, from your perspective, right, hospitals, a lot of them are still running on legacy systems, or there's multiple vendors whose systems don't necessarily talk to each other, or the infrastructure is still outdated. From your perspective of the IT and infrastructure side, what do hospitals need to start thinking about in order to kind of get prepared or have in place before they can even put a tool in like that?
First of all, the question that they need to ask is, what is the problem that we are solving? It's just not, do we want to implement it or not? But what is the problem that AI is going to solve when we want to implement it? That's the first question every hospital needs to answer. Once that is very, very clear, when it is about patient access, increase in, as Nayan said, patient experience, reducing the burnout, the doctor burnout and all of that stuff, that's a clear definition of the problem that we want to solve. Once that is clarified or cleared, then we step on to, are our systems ready? Is our infrastructure ready? Is our data ready? And do we have security processes in place? And the final thing is, do we have the governance and auditability of all of this, all of the AI implementation? So once we have all of these questions answered, I think that's when we actually do the proof of concepts and pretty much go on through the full scale implementation once the desired KPIs are very much in positive, once they look positive. So
always start with the business problems.
Absolutely.
Well, building on top of what he just said, I mean, in healthcare technology, it's really more, we've heard the term, the three pillars, people, process, and technology. 80% of the challenges in healthcare are the people in the process. The technology is there. We're really behind in technology in healthcare for the most part. But it's just like Vic was saying, what really is the problem you're trying to solve, the business problem that you're trying to solve. And then the technology is easy to enable in most cases because of the lack of catching up with innovation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially you see all the different specialists in a hospital, right? The nurses, the cardiologists, the doctors, even the office staff, right? Managing all the paperwork too. Yeah. In this video that we saw, Nayan, one of the things was that the doctor was still reviewing and improving these notes that are taken and the summaries. From your CIO perspective, right? What happens though if notes get through to treatment or through to billing? Where does that responsibility lie if something goes wrong?
So ultimately, the provider or the physician is still accountable. At the end of the day, we call it the human in the loop. No matter what kind of technology we're putting in place, you still need to have that human in the loop. They're the ones who are doing the final sign-off on the physician note. If there is any kind of recommendation, whether it's an actual procedure recommendation or a drug recommendation, or even a billing note, right? Or something that will be sent to for billing payment collection, the physician is the one who's still always going to be accountable. That part is not changing anytime soon. So the need for physicians is only increasing. We're just becoming more streamlined in how we take care of patients and giving them time back as we continue to giving the user experience a little bit different. But the efficiency is going to gain, the experience will change, but ultimately the person responsible is still the physician. And so the healthcare process is still the healthcare process.
Yeah, good to hear. Vic, from your perspective, right, we know AI still hallucinates and still infers things that may not be true, right? From a software and AI development perspective, which you look after, building on what Nayan said, what safeguards and governance should hospitals be looking at to prevent those kind of wrong things from happening?
I think the first thing is AI should never be the decision maker. It just needs to be the enabler. That's it. A human, as Nayan said, the most important thing is human in the loop. Qualified humans should be able to look at the data and take decisions, review the data and take decisions based on what AI has suggested, right? In addition to that, that being the number one action item, in addition to that, I think more focus on auditability, the cleanliness of data, the integration, and of course, I always talk about the security and compliance. You cannot drop the ball in any of these because it's about a patient's life. So we need to be, I would say, I know people say 100%. I would say we need to be 1000% sure that you are not completely depending on an unaudited result from an AI system. So yeah, that's what would be my take on it.
One example that I think a lot of people can relate to is many people have seen the TV show The Pit.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a new TV show called The Pit. It represents the Pittsburgh Emergency Department. And in the show, they highlight ambient AI as one of the newer technologies that there's a number of technology use cases in the show. I really like it because I tell everybody, if you're in healthcare, you need to watch the show. But they do call out a specific hallucination, right? So there is a physician note, one doctor says, here, put it, but there was an actual resident doctor who says, hey, that doesn't look right, or something here seems off, and they catch it, right? So they're trying to point out that it's not 100%. It needs to be still looked at by the human eye, who's been trained to look for anomalies that, the computer can't do everything. Now, did it get it to this point, made it a lot faster? Yes, but you just still need to kind of process it as a human would and make sure there was not a true hallucination.
And I guess even the responsibility of us humans to not just assume the AI got it and then always know that we have that final responsibility and not get almost like lazy about it, right? Or take it for granted.
Right. And for those of you who don't know, when we say hallucinations, it's just it's information that the AI tool believes is correct based on what it knows or what data it's been fed, but it's not actually validated. And even just basic information, sometimes it will call out. I used various AI tools today, Gemini, Claude, Copilot, etc. And every now and then I'll say, wait a minute, that doesn't seem right. Can you validate that? And it'll say, you're right. That is not incorrect. I mean, that is incorrect. And here's the source. So let me update my memory.
Yeah.
So you have to help it learn as well at times. There are a lot of things, and it can be small things, where somebody works or what that organization represents. It could be a number of small things, but it will keep learning and getting better as it's fed information.
We got to stay sharp on it.
Yeah.
Always. You can never
Always.
take it for granted.
Yes.
So my
Well-
favorite thing is if I'm using any large-scale learning model, I'll always question with a simple statement, do not hallucinate, do not drift, will be my ending statement for everything that I wanted to research on. So, so I try to, but you still can never trust it. So yeah.
For sure. Well, I want to pause at this point and just give a shout out to Veritis. This podcast is brought to you by Veritis, a global IT solutions and services provider based here in Dallas-Fort Worth. And they serve and help Fortune 500 companies as well as mid-sized companies with their complex business challenges and drive growth through high-impact, value chain-focused technology solutions. Let's roll that video now.
For over 20 plus years, Veritis has been transforming businesses through technology and empowering people through values. With 600 plus enterprise projects and partnerships with Fortune 500 companies, we deliver nothing less than 100% quality and commitment. Our capabilities span across strategy, applications, managed services, data, intelligence, security, and infrastructure, helping businesses scale securely and innovate faster. The impact: up to 40% faster innovation, up to 60% cost optimization, and market-leading results. From infrastructure to innovation, Veritis is your executive edge.
With this next section, I want to start with you, Nayan. As we get ready for this AI revolution, and I think we're still in the getting ready mode here, for hospitals and medical practices, a big question is probably, where do I start? Right? There's so many things to look at. What's your advice on how people should start looking at their AI and technology innovations?
So in healthcare, there's a number of places you can start, but you kind of need to assess what you have. And a lot of organizations, you've probably heard of the capability maturity model. That is where you are on a level of maturity on different types of capabilities. So there are different organizations. One of them is called HIMSS, which is Healthcare Information Management Systems Society. What they did is almost 20 years ago now, they built a maturity model called the EMRAM, which is the EMR adoption model. And so EMR,
we brought it today. Let's pull that up on the screen as well.
Yeah. So EMR is electronic medical record. It gets interchanged with EHR, which is electronic health record. So EMR technically is a single patient visit. The health record is multiple visits on a patient. So there's terminology things that people have to understand. Now, what you're looking at here from the EMRAM journey itself is, organizations, and, this was 20 years ago that when they started this journey, but, nobody's hopefully in stage 0 and 1 right now, okay? And that's just having basic clinical applications or ancillary applications that track data, whether it's your laboratory, radiology, cardiology, there's so many different departments, and they all have different types of tracking mechanisms. And now, majority of the organizations today are probably somewhere between 2 and 5. Okay, and as you get these things installed, then you can have data repositories where you can start seeing the records on a patient. People didn't, you're again moving away from paper is what you're trying to do. And then as you go into like I said, the middle of the road, this is where you're doing physician orders from the applications, putting everything, it's data integration, right? And so the more and more you have all these departments tied together, being able to share imaging, share, information on a patient to another hospital, a referring physician, whatever it might be. Right now we know faxing still exists. Okay, faxing is still
What's that word?
Faxing is a is a
Define it
huge.
for our younger generation, Nayan.
Yeah. So faxes, if you haven't experienced the fax yet, is being able to send a piece of paper through a telephone line, and it is an archaic analog telephone line, but it enables to scan the paper and then print it in another side wherever the destination
You
is,
still
right?
see this in hospitals.
Absolutely. There's some who still use literally paper faxing. A lot of people have changed to e-faxing. So unfortunately, it still comes in as a PDF in some cases, but that PDF file, how it gets into a medical record system, sometimes they have to print it and bring it into that, import it into the other system, because that's the only path to get it there. They don't have an electronic import option. So there's a lot of things in that sense that, we're still not quite there. Now, the larger systems and everybody who has extra funding, hopefully they're a lot further along the maturity module. Stage 6 and 7 is where the pinnacle is. That's where you want to get to. And stage 7 is pretty much where you're paperless. There is no paper charts. Everything is electronic. You're trying to, bring it up on your iPad, as you saw that one physician, not only for the ambient recording, but then just being able to show everything there. If there's an image or patient information that needs to be shared, it can all be done in electronic format.
What do you think is the percentage of hospitals and organizations right now at stage 7?
So HIMSS has not published anything since, give or take, 2022, and it was around 6%. So it's probably somewhere between 8 and 10% today that are probably at stage 7, and that's out of over 5,000 hospitals. So there are a lot of hospitals in the U.S., and that's just in the U.S. that I'm talking about. Worldwide's another number. They do show this and have this as a model for global needs as well. So, majority of them are in that 3 to 5 pack is probably. It just takes a lot of data integration, applications, being able to send the data the right way, and as big a talk that human in the loop. Like, there's still, just because it's doing it, is it the right way that it's doing it? And a lot of it has to do with the complications of healthcare. Healthcare is not like banking. Money can be sent one way. I mean, cash is cash kind of thing, right? But healthcare, different patient information is different based on the part of the body that's experiencing.
So many nuances too.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And government regulations come into play as well, especially with each state and local requirements. Every state has different regulations as well around healthcare, and you can look at including remote healthcare. So.
And this, you say people, process, and technology, right? But huge part is data too.
Yes.
Right? A huge part. Vic, from your perspective, what are some of the AI innovations that you're seeing in healthcare right now?
I think the plausible use case or the most successful use case we talk about is image recognition, right? Wherein huge data sets can be processed by AI systems, and they can derive plausibly good results out of, for example, radiology, pathology. This, I'm thinking, is one step ahead when it comes to AI in healthcare. But we just now saw the digital scribe, which I believe is also being implemented. My primary care physician had it, so that's when I came to know, oh, so there is this new cool toy that's been already implemented with my PCP. So then I think much more also it's about the AI-driven workflows, wherein we see a lot of processes being like patient intake process, the Revit RevOps processes and all of this stuff. They are being driven to more AI-enabled workflows. So I think these are the top 3 things that strike my mind right now, but we have a team that really always focuses on creating these day to day. So
you actually brought up, AI workflows. I mean, I think how many times and it hopefully happens a lot less now, but it still happens. You go into one hospital and they send you to a specialist, for example, but that specialist is tied to the hospital or organization you just left. yet you have to provide everything again, right? You have to re-register with them. Can't they just get all of the basic information and send it, right? So there are opportunities still. Many of these things now you will have to re-register and validate who you are, but hopefully you don't have to enter it all again. Maybe it's just validate, right? And that's what a lot of organizations are trying to do. Again, it's technology can do it, but it's enabling it with people and processes to make it more efficient.
Yep, I agree with you. Second that. So
I even remember one news feed that I saw just talking about AI in new drug testing as well, because drug testing is so rigorous,
Yes.
right? So it needs something to track all the different iterations. And
that's a very huge. One of my friends is working on that, wherein they're able to. It's a cool concept. That's when I was reading more about it. When I came to know that he's working on it, how they can run iterations of any disease with the chemicals, and how they interact, and what is the end result, so on and so forth. That is a big. Recently, I think one company which was very much focused on drug discovery got acquired by Eli Lilly, I think, for billions of dollars. So just imagine the potential there as well. Yeah, you're right, Fanny. That's a very good, valid point. Yeah.
Nayan, you've worked in both urban hospitals as well as rural hospitals. From your CIO perspective, what do you see different in these two environments, and what kind of AI readiness advice would you give to them?
I think first, just to point out, it's not always just about budget. I mean, I think larger urban hospitals have more money. That's just reality, right? Because there's more population, they can capture more of it. But it's really, that's not just the case. The bigger things are around access to healthcare and then also education. I think those are the two things. When you go into rural organizations, and as I mentioned, I was in a hospital in central Georgia, and I'm talking, just like we're talking about the EMRAM model, some of these folks have not heard of the EMRAM model. Like, that's because they're just not exposed to, and I'm talking about people in the IT department. Most people, I would say, if you're in the IT department, you know about certain things and you've heard of it. And so you're trying to increase your capabilities as an organization. So education is one thing, just knowledge sharing of, even at, this was two years ago, understanding what AI was and the word ChatGPT. Like, people were unsure what that was. You talk to more of the urban areas, people, you hear it more, you know about it. News is different, whatever the information workflow is different. So education helps then improve patient care and access. So access to healthcare, I think, is probably one of the biggest things worldwide, okay? Not just like, can you get it, but can you get it on time and efficiently, right? So access to healthcare is one of the big challenges. You get the appointment reminders now. How many times, if you go anywhere, and the reason for some of that is because people have different reasons why they have to cancel, and that costs an organization money that if they don't fill that time slot with taking care of a patient. So they do lose money. Not to say they don't lose money, but they don't make the money that they thought they were going to make. So that also impacts things. But a lot of people don't have the ability to get to a location, or the drive time is significant because of where they might live. And then there's cost too. There are a lot of people who simply can't afford it. And whether it's they don't have the right health care, or they can't fund the transportation to get where they need to go. So access and education, I think, are two big factors.
Thank you. Vic, from your perspective, AI is only as good as the data, right? Mm-hmm. We talked about data a lot, right, and infrastructure. So when you're assessing the readiness of an organization, especially in healthcare, for AI, what are some of the, kind of the bigger red flags that you're looking for to see whether they're ready or not, even if they think they're ready?
Yep, I think you already brought it up. What is the biggest red flag? It's like the statement, "We want AI," in the boards. So as I talked about it, the first thing is always about, do you have a clear definition of the problem that you're trying to solve, right? again, we come back to you have the problem, you are identifying the tool that solves the problem. Then it comes to assessing, is your data ready? Is your governance structure ready? Are your authentication systems ready? And also, will this tool be able to integrate efficiently with your EHR systems and the rest of the workflow and all of this stuff? If we are able to answer all of these questions and check saying that yes, 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 and yes, I think that's the first step towards understanding that we have reduced the risk. And again, after that, it's execution, right? So different parts of execution, POC, full-scale implementation, measuring the KPIs and all of this stuff, as I already mentioned. So
I think it all leads to the word trust.
Yep.
Right? I mean, you want to trust the systems that you're relying on, for, especially from a healthcare standpoint. Do you trust your doctor that he's giving you the best advice to improve whatever scenario you might be going through or
Yep.
experiencing? So it's trusting the care that you're being provided, and that has to do with the systems that are in place. How many, I mean, we all have a big computer in our pockets these days, okay? And we use these phones for you name it, right? Scheduling dinner meetings, lunch appointments, to buying tickets for airplanes, whatever it might be. But if those systems aren't trustable, how can we rely on them? And so having the governance in place, having the checks and balances, being able to have security audits, and making sure that, you know, nothing nefarious is happening. And there are a lot of bad actors out there, okay? And they're after money any which way it can be attained. So that's a big challenge for, you know, when you look at any of these integration
And Nayan, do you ever feel like, as a practitioner, an operator, right in those settings where they think they're ready, but then they start off and kick off the implementations, and then they discover maybe flaws and gaps that they're really not ready?
I won't say that they will say that they're not ready, but they're never going to be 100% ready. A lot of these things are going to be through iteration. They're iterative processes. You have to get to a point and say, okay, at some point you got to go and then fix and put Band-Aids around the issues that you run into, right? Because it is, but you prepare as much as you can. And at the same time, you know, somebody didn't either give all the information on some workflow or some specific piece because they didn't think, oh, they thought you may have known about it, or it was documented properly, but it wasn't documented properly, or then there's, you know, security flaws or whatever might be in place. So there is no right answer, but you just keep moving in the needle in the right direction.
Yeah. I guess it is a balancing act. Even, I don't know, I was watching something about NASA, and I think there was some alarm that went off, but it was because the parameters were so stringent and so sensitive that even though there wasn't really a problem, it was so sensitive that it triggered an alarm. Yeah. And yeah, so it is a balancing act.
And you put those in place because you want to validate, okay, there's something there. Let's go make sure it's not a bigger problem, right? We talked about just now about our education and access, and that goes into remote patient care. Today, that's a big thing right now in terms of, you know, what's going to happen to the care of patients in the future. And I think we estimated, or I've seen some stats that show us that 30 million patients over the next 5 years are going to be moving from in-hospital spaces to some alternative form of care, whether it's in rehab facilities or at-home care, you know. And that's because to take care of patients in hospitals is getting more expensive. So then how do you make that transition? What do you do for remote care? So remote patient monitoring, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, it comes into play, but then it's also the data in between. So you got to make sure that the data that is now being looked at is in a secure manner as well.
Thank you. I want to pause real quick here to share another video with you. Empathy is one of the core values of Veritis. And we wanted to share with you today a video just sharing some of the community service projects that Veritis is involved in. Let's roll that now. For this next section, I want to dive into very specific AI use cases, in this case in healthcare. Nayan, I want to start off with you because you have a cool gadget that you're working on right now. What kind of tech innovations does that involve, and how does AI play into that?
So we talked about it earlier. I work for Neteera. We make a radar-based, contactless patient monitoring system. The device itself is actually no bigger than a deck of cards. It's a motion sensor. It's a high-frequency radar. And what we do is we have the ability to point it at you from 8 feet away, up to 8 feet away. It's like a flashlight, if you can imagine a flashlight. And we can capture your heart rate, your respiratory rate, and sleep data, other physiological data. Why it's so cool, it's really the early versions of a Star Trek tricorder is what I call it, right? Yes. Like we're able to, scan a body and get this information. The way it works is it detects micro movement in your skin through clothing, through sheets, anything, and it's just picking up throughout the body, different parts of your body, and it correlates all the data. So the AI piece of it is it's looking at all this data and being able to process it in a way that previously could not have been done as fast. We also, the question is always asked, well, how did we get into this business? It actually started from autonomous car vehicles, right? Being able to detect cars and movement technology, and then the radar technologies got, hey, we can do something even better and fine tune it. And so that's the premise behind it. So
how incredible, that it can detect something so minute without wires,
yes.
Totally wireless. So I know you brought a video for us today, so let's play that Neteera video right now.
Neteera's contactless, FDA-cleared remote patient monitoring solution safely transforms patient care by monitoring vital signs and behavioral parameters without camera or microphone. The technology continuously monitors patients 24/7, uploading data virtually and automatically to capture vital signs in trending data based on pertinent findings at all times, enabling proactive care through continuous monitoring.
Nayan, pretty incredible. And I think you brought something for us here as well, right?
Yeah,
the whole time it's been here.
This is actually what the device, how it would be positioned, or it can be positioned. This is a home version that we're currently working on. And we're going to try to get that released over the next year or so. And we're doing various pilots with large organizations to validate that. But essentially, this is how I showed you what it looks like. It's mounted. It works only through USB-C for power. The rest is through Wi-Fi. So it's not complicated. The best thing about it also is that there's no privacy issues. It's a motion sensor, so there's no camera. There's nothing to charge. There's nothing to wear, there's nothing to clean once you mount it. And so we're very successful in long-term care and skilled nursing facilities. We have like 30,000, 40,000 devices deployed. And so we actually are able to get a lot of trending data. So that's the other thing that we can get is we have all this data on how hearts and bodies are performing, heart rate, respiratory rate, and then we establish baselines, and we can now detect 77% of the time accuracy of an adverse event happening 5 days in advance.
Whoa.
And that's only going to get better. So there are many types of adverse events that can happen, but that's the type of technology that we're going to be able to see and deploy. And, having AI help us improve that technology and accuracy is going to be
predictions.
Prediction. Oh yeah, prediction. So arrhythmias next. You know, we know this can help us with arrhythmia. We're going to be also be able to look at sleep apnea. So those are things that we already have approved, and these are all FDA Class 2 cleared. So we have it available, and we're going to continue to get better and better.
That's so exciting. I even think of my mom, right? She lives on her own, so having a tool like that to monitor and flag something is exciting.
Yes, it's passive monitoring is, you know, that part of that thing goes to the remote patient care that we talked about, right? And then you have all this data. Where does this data go, and how do we make use of the data in the right way?
Exciting.
And so, yeah.
Thank you.
That's interesting. Very interesting.
Vic, I know you're on the edge of innovations as well. Tell us a little bit about the things that you guys are building at Veritis from a AI and software solutions.
We have multiple initiatives that are going on. By the end of the year, we'll have about 3 initiatives that hit the market. Our goal was to ensure that every service that we are providing will have an accelerator to support it. So, but one of the easiest thing that we could get to market, because we had a specific use case from a client, and that's when we developed it and we morphed it into multiple industries as well, is a virtual concierge. Human beings, we spend a lot of time in terms of trying to get to simple things, which is like, what is the address of this location? How do I have the registration process? What are the hours? So these are the kind of things that we are trying to reduce with this virtual concierge based on a specific industry. For example, in healthcare, if we talk about who are the doctors at this location and what are their hours. These are simple questions that somebody does not need to call. We also talk about pre-visit registration, and in terms of anything that can be kind of done pre-visit, we are taking care of it. Eventually, the goal is to also go into the billing aspect of it, automating the workflows around the back-end aspect of it. But that's the eventual goal for this product that we came to market with. So pretty much I thought we had a little video of it as well, which we can brag about our product. Hats off to my team who were able to bring it to market pretty quickly, because it was we were speaking to a healthcare provider, medical office, and they said it would be cool to have this. And my team just like, you know what, it's a very doable thing. We have a prototype already done. Let's bring it to production. So yeah.
Well, let's roll that video right now.
Sure.
All right, let's jump straight into this explainer on bot.us, the AI concierge infrastructure scaling businesses. So, look, brands are literally bleeding loyalty over routine requests that should just be resolved instantly. You just can't scale human headcount fast enough to meet those massive, always-on expectations, right? This exact bottleneck is why 91% of service leaders face crazy pressure to implement AI. Get this, by 2029, a staggering 80% of common issues will be resolved autonomously. Enter Bot.us. It's a single, powerful operating system to build, deploy, and constantly supervise these agents. It's got 5 core components, taking you straight from building policies to full omnichannel execution. Now let's see how this transforms high-volume industries. First up, healthcare and wellness. Here, Bot.us instantly handles stuff like appointment booking, patient triage, and tricky billing questions. Over in travel and hospitality, sudden seasonal peaks can totally crush traditional support teams. But this AI concierge effortlessly handles rebooking, itinerary changes, and loyalty support entirely on its own. For financial services and fintech, strict compliance and ironclad security are absolutely crucial. It securely manages high-stakes workflows like KYC handoffs, account troubleshooting, and rapid fraud routing. Now, in the hyper-fast SaaS and e-commerce space, consumers absolutely demand instant resolutions. The bot steps in to execute immediate refunds, real-time order tracking, and first-line tech support. Even local home service operators use it, so they never miss a single inbound lead. It basically guarantees accurate quote capture, dispatch updates, and full resolution for critical after-hours calls. The real secret weapon here? A continuous improvement loop that creates a huge defensible moat. every single interaction upgrades you from slow, manual QA to automated, industry-specific outcome benchmarks. The system constantly learns where automation thrives and exactly when a human handoff is needed. So is your outdated customer support infrastructure holding your business growth hostage?
Vic, you can really see how that can, not just healthcare, right? It can span across multiple industries. So thank you for bringing that to share with us.
Yeah, I'm super glad that we got to talk about it. It was in stealth until right now, but we thought we'll start talking more about it. So yeah, thanks a lot for bringing this up. It was your idea. So.
Absolutely, we got to show our cool toys. Nayan, from where you sit, because I know you're always attending various healthcare conferences, you're a part of a lot of associations. Of all the things that you've kind of seen over the last year, what would you say in healthcare has been underrated and what is just too much hype?
Underrated, I think it's probably back office functions. I think if you think about, there's so much stuff that is manual today that can be automated. And you don't have to have an AI agent to do that, but there's a lot of AI automation that can take place now because of the AI tools that we have available to us. And you don't hear about it because it's happening, right? And
behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes. So that's where I'll say it's a little bit underrated. There's a lot of stuff that can happen there. And people aren't taking advantage of it either, though. There's people who just don't know that, hey, I never thought about using this to automate some of these things that I'm doing every day. From a little too much hype is where the agents can do everything, right? Like you can say that, okay, we can put an AI agent to automate X, Y, Z and make calls and take care of this and process this and work it through all this next step. I mean, they're essentially, AI agents are mini applications that run on their own. One of the challenges I think that we'll have with time, and I don't have the answer for this, but it's you're going to have somebody who's like there's going to be a new role that'll be established in companies called the VP of non-HR, right? Because, they're responsible for all these agents that have been put in place, and who owns the agents, who's giving these agents annual performance reviews, because it's doing something every year, and is it doing it the way it's expected to? Is it performing the way it needs to? Are there opportunities to make it better, or is it outdated? And so agents that are being established gets a little tricky because the person who might have even built the agent may not be with the company anymore. And so that's where it's going to become a little bit of a challenge.
It's almost like instead of VP of HR, it's VP of AR, artificial resources.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I don't know, maybe. You heard it here first on the AI Verity Show.
You got it.
There you go. Yeah.
Vic, from your perspective, right? Obviously, hospitals get pitched AI solutions, all these tech solutions all the time, right? But from the vendor and builder side of things, how can kind of organizations cut through all that noise and all the pitches to get down to what's really important?
It comes to, again, the pain point. We'll start always, because I'm a big fan of like, okay, what is the business problem? What is the biggest pain point? And then we talk about how they are able to integrate the data, existing data, and how they're able to integrate with the existing workflows. Then also how they're able to help with risk, right? It's not like you're in some other industry wherein risk can be not talked about here. And of course, the final thing would be ROI. So if we are able to factor all of this stuff and create a checklist for all these vendors who you are actually having them trying to solve that particular problem that you have clearly defined, so then the solution will be very, very easy. The answer will be very, very easy. It's not that we can just bring in and put in a tool here and say work. No, right? It needs to look at the tool should work with the existing data platforms. It needs to work with the existing EHR, EMR he clarified that, which was good. Difference between EMR and EHR. Thanks a lot, Nayan, today. So, and also, I would say once you have all of this, then you start trying to see, okay, this tool, this is a cool tool that we got. We got the data aspect of it. We had the risk aspect of it. We have the workflow aspect of it. Now, let's talk about the integration aspect of it, right? We have these tools which come in and they'll say, I can integrate with this, but I can't integrate with this. But you have to understand a hospital or a medical system is already an existing system. So you're trying to bring something new into it and say that work with it. So, and that is the key. Will this tool integrate with all of the existing security systems, infrastructure systems, and patient health records and all of this stuff? And the most important thing is it going to solve the problem, and is it going to give me the return on investment? Once all of this is done, I think the answers, once we have a checklist, the answer is pretty clear on which vendor to go.
Yeah, you remind me of a story of, like, if somebody were to build a new hospital today, you wanted to have everything state of the art. What would it look like, right? Like, and you can take the best leaders in the world saying this is what these people would build, like based on their capabilities, whether it's Apple centric or Google centric, whatever, right? The question is, how long will whatever you put in place today be effective? Because in 1 or 2 years, there's going to be some newer technology that makes what you had to. So you always have to evolve and be able to change and be flexible. And that's where it becomes a bit of a challenge. So I think in hospitals, particularly, one of the challenges we have is because there's so many different applications, it's common knowledge that even a small hospital will have 150, 200 applications. Larger healthcare systems are in the 500-600 range. Just different things that are performing different functions. And that's just clinical applications type of thing, right? Now, there's been a lot of consolidation that's happened over the last 10, 15 years, and that's going to continue. So application rationalization is happening. And so how can you say, okay, the biggest EHR in the world, can it do everything? No, it's not. Just like right now on your phone, you have how many apps on your phone? Because you can't have one app that just says, just do this, right? Each thing serves a different function. In a hospital, it's the same type of thing. We have different functions that are performed, and that'll always be the case. So how do we improve that? And, consolidation is going to be one of the keys. In security, as an example, when I was in one of the smaller hospitals, we did consolidate like 12 applications down to 5, just in the security space, because you can have security for any little piece of it, right? Whether it's email, to website filtering, to, all kinds of threat actor blocking, firewall blocking, whatever it might be. And so that's where some opportunities are going to be.
We can easily dive into all that even further. But before we wrap up, I'd love to get kind of one key takeaway that you want our audience to walk away with today. Vic, I'll start with you. What do you want our audience to kind of remember from our episode today?
I think AI in healthcare is here to stay, and it is going to evolve. But only thing that I would take a stronger look at is patient safety is the most important factor in any of these implementations. AI can enable, but it cannot take the decision when it comes to patient safety. So my favorite phrase, human in the loop, should always be there or exist. That's what would be my takeaway.
Thank you, Vic. Nayan?
I think AI is here to stay, but it's almost like what internet was 25 years ago. That's what AI is. It's another tool in our tool chest, right? We can use AI for different things. It's not like gonna be one thing. It's just provides many different ways. So like when the internet was created, we had to learn how to use it.
Yeah.
Right? And then from that, commerce and different elements were created. AI is the same way. There's going to be, just like we saw earlier, ambient AI. There's going to be so many different use cases for AI. And we'll, as a industry in healthcare, we're going to improve, but it's going to correlate with other industries as well.
It's a continual evolution,
Yes.
for sure. Well, thank you, Vic. Thank you, Nayan. And thank you to you in our audience for tuning into the AI Verity Show today. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you get the latest episodes, as well as to follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all the other podcasting platforms. So you are tuning into the AI Verity Show. We are your AI truth seekers, and we're here to investigate the facts behind the hype so that we can help you prepare for the AI revolution. Thank you, and see you next time.